everyone, and welcome to this edition of Shergroup on the Sofa. I hope wherever you are in the world today that you're in a good place and the sun is shining somewhere. I'm sure it is. I hope so. And with me today, I have my very good friend Declan Flood from the Irish Institute of Credit Management. And before we get into the interview, as I always do, I always give a shout out to my number one fan. So, hey, Rossi Saunders in Norwich, Norfolk, England. How are you doing today? And I think Declan's going to give you a little shout out as well.
Ross, great to see you. Hope you enjoy the show and hopefully it'll be interesting to you. Take care. Nice
He'll
talking
listen
to
to
you.
every word. He'll listen to every word. Okay. So, credit. And you are, I mean, I've known your name for many, many years. And I'm so pleased that we're sort of getting to know each other now because I've been in awe of what you've done for Irish credit management. You really put it on the map. And getting to know you as I am now, I see the passion around credit, which is so many credit people have that. I suppose in my neck of credit, I have it. And I mean, I think you see just so much untapped potential, don't you, in this factor of, this function of business.
Absolutely.
The credit.
Absolutely, Claire. And the one thing that gets to me is how other businesses miss this. And I suppose if I've been doing one thing for the last 20 years, it's just getting people to understand the importance of credit. The amount of people who think, oh, credit control, debt collection, that's what it is. It's just collecting the debts. And yes, of course, it's collecting the debts. That's only part of it. There is so much more to good credit management, and there's so much potential out there for businesses to grow their profits, grow their image, grow their customer base if they use their credit function properly. I'm trying to teach them, educate them, etc. I will talk to anybody who listen, and eventually, I'm hoping that the message will get through.
Well, I think it is getting through. I mean, you hosted the World Credit Congress twice, you were just telling me,
Yeah,
a couple of years ago in Dublin. You had 500 people come to that event,
yeah.
and 29 exhibitors, you were just telling me. So, people are listening and are interested in what, the Emerald Isle has to say about this function. And I think that's very important. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Just explain to our viewers, how did you get into credit?
My profile says I have over 20 years credit management experience, and those words will never change. Okay, it is not a lie. If I were talking in 15 years' time, it'll still be over 20 years
Oh, I must have
experience.
got that.
Um, I, I started work day one. I suppose like everybody else, I fell into credit. Yeah, I was looking for a job. This job came up in a credit control office, and I thought, yeah, I'll give that a go. I can do that. And I was young, and the great thing about being young is I knew everything. And I find the older I get, the less I know, which is probably a
Mhm.
blessing as well. And I just liked it. I liked the whole rough and tumble of it. I love the success of getting money in, of getting into a ledger, of talking to people. And I suppose part of me is a problem solver. I love solving problems, and no matter how hard the queries were or the disputes or whatever, just getting in there, sorting them out internally, externally, getting a result. I just, yes, I love this. And, each month and hitting targets and getting the cash. And I just, yeah, I just got a buzz. And then as I got involved, I started as a credit controller, then became credit manager, group credit manager, and worked for a number of multinationals. Built a team around me as well, so I could pass on my knowledge to them. And just, I kept seeing other areas that were lacking, because the thing about credit is, if you see credit as the function that happens when all else fails, so we have all the sort of sales and marketing and product development and all this kind of IT and accounting, and you see credit is the end of the road, where debts go to die or whatever the case may be,
Mm.
you're losing an opportunity. I always saw and managed to position credit at the center of the business. we are the eyes and ears of the customer within the business. We know our customers better than anybody else. We care about our customers more than anybody else. And I found with my credit controllers as well, that carried through as well. If we had internal arguments, we were always on the side of the customer.
Yeah.
So I just saw this potential there that we're in the heart of the business. We know everything that's going wrong. And you can give out and say, oh, I've all these queries and all these disputes and all these problems. Yeah, and if you look at it that way, this is the worst job in the world because there's any amount of them. If you see each problem as an opportunity, and each problem is where we've let a customer down somewhere along the way. And
Yeah.
that's why I'd love people to take, and even business owners who are watching this, you know, find out what queries and disputes are happening in your business, because business owners take huge pride in their quality and their standards and their Q marks and all this kind of stuff. And my question is, why don't you extend that quality process to the quality of the invoices you send out to your customers? Because that is very much a customer service as well. And if
Yeah.
we're sending out wrong invoices, incomplete invoices, and that happens the world over. I've discovered this from all the talks I've given around the world, that nothing is different anywhere in the world.
No,
You know,
no,
somebody said to me once when it came to credit, said, Declan, us guys tend to put our trousers on one leg at a time. And, you know, there are things that are universal. And credit and the recognition of credit and the operation of credit is universal. And I'd love to see senior managers take their credit function more seriously. Like, it's your money, guys. It's one step away. It's sitting on the ledger waiting to be paid. And now that we're moving into high interest zones, we're working into where the availability of funding. So if you need funding, you know, it's not always readily available at 0% interest. You know, you have money just sitting there one step away. It's free. Go and get it.
there's a wonderful, I completely agree with all that. There's a wonderful American expression, which I think applies to credit. And they say, you know, don't leave money on the table.
Yeah.
And money in a ledger is like money left on the table, really, to me, and I
Yes.
think to you as well. It's just your money that you haven't got in yet.
And you're one step away.
Yeah.
And businesses fail because they run out of cash.
Yes.
And you know what upsets me greatly is, you know, they're focusing on turnover, they're focusing on growth, they're focusing on sales, they're focusing on all this stuff, and you're one step away, guys. You know, why just let it all fall at the last hurdle? You know,
You know why?
and
They don't
and
want
they
to
do
ask the
it the world
customer for the
over.
money.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look.
So, I mean, you must hear that from people. I mean, you know, I've built teams in my own businesses that look after collecting in cash, and you know, everyone's nervous about asking for their own money. And I bet you have a solution for that. I mean, what do you say to somebody that says, I don't know what to say to the customer?
Um. Well, first of all, I would say never be afraid to ask for your money back.
No.
Number two, never apologize for asking for money back. And thirdly, look, you have provided goods or a service to those guys. They know how business works.
Yeah.
I provide the goods and service, you pay me at an agreed time and place.
Yeah.
And and that's it. So the call is purely to arrange payment of the money. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. You got the goods. Are you happy? Yes. Can I have the money, please? You know, there's no. Sometimes people do get into battle mode and they start fighting, and even their tone changes. And business owners will be more guilty of this because it becomes personal and it's him against me. No, it's not. You and your customer should be on the same side, and the money is the money. You have to separate the two.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, to take the emotion out of it, it's business. We provided goods, we gave you a service, now you have to pay. There is no dispute there. And in my eyes, you have to pay.
Yeah.
That's it. And there's no apologies there. You have to pay. Now, if you haven't got all the money now, I'll talk to you. Of course, we're reasonable.
Yeah,
We'll talk. So you still have to pay.
yeah,
And that's the end of story. And yes, we teach negotiation skills. There's times we don't negotiate.
yeah.
And, you got the goods, you have to pay. No negotiations.
No.
And the one question that I would recommend, I'll give away all my secrets now in the one place. The one question that I would highly recommend that is so effective in credit control and cannot cause a row, it is very simply, so how would you like to pay?
So how would you like to pay?
How would you like to pay? Isn't that lovely? Isn't that just a lovely question?
It
Because
is.
they have to answer it. And there's no debate about whether they're going to pay or not. Of
No.
course, you're going to pay.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's one for today.
Oh, that's a gem. I love it. Completely non-confrontational, and
Yeah,
yeah, after all the excuses have been heard and aired, and just how would you like to pay? Yeah, I love
the
it.
fact that you've said that, Claire, there is one. When I get credit controllers into a room to train them, I tell them that if they go on a call, there is only one of two things they can get. They can either get the money or an excuse.
Yeah,
And so many of them go looking for excuses. Honestly, I know
yeah,
it sounds ridiculous. Is everything okay? Have you any queries there? Like, yeah, I'll find some for you, please stop, look, and giving them excuses. And because I know I have to meet my finance director on Friday, and my finance director will want to know why these haven't been paid, sometimes knowing the why is enough. And
yeah.
that's where they also go looking for an excuse. I would say to credit controllers or anybody who's involved in credit, please never ask the question why. Never. You
No,
don't know or care why.
yeah.
Because why is in the past, and when you ask them why, you're asking them for an excuse.
Very good
I prefer
advice.
to ask them, how are you
How?
going to pay this?
So how are you going
Because
to
that
pay?
brings them into the future, into a solution. Do you see the
Yeah, I
distinction?
do. I see that very clearly, and I think that's great advice for all the credit controllers across the world. Actually, it's not unique to Ireland. That works anywhere in the world.
It works everywhere, of
Yeah,
course it does. And credit control is credit control. And I've been to Ghana, South Africa, Mexico, and Canada, and Finland. And credit control is the same the world over. And the same principles apply.
yeah,
It really does. So, yes, I know we're here in Ireland. And Ireland is uniquely placed, I suppose, because, we're very pro American, and we are also part of the EU. So
yeah.
we're very much an international, and obviously Irish people. You couldn't go to a village in Argentina without meeting somebody who was Irish heritage. So we have colonized the world in our own way.
You you have, and very nicely with it. So that's great. That's great. A lovely disposition from so many of your fellow countrymen and women.
Yeah.
Um, well, I can see the passion and I can see the experience that you're shining out today in this conversation. But we were talking earlier about the recognition for credit. I mean, how do credit professionals build up that recognition? How are you educating not your credit controllers, because they will follow you. If I was being trained by you, I would think, cool, I'm so fortunate to be trained by Declan, seasoned credit professional, fantastic. But what about the finance director? Doesn't matter really their makeup, but do you know what? You can't teach me anything about finance. I know how to do this. What is this credit? How do you get that recognition into companies that to take this really seriously?
Um, I think if we're talking to credit controllers, what I think you need to do is you need to change your language depending on who you are talking to. So if we take something as universal as queries and disputes, so if I go talking internally about queries and disputes, people will roll their eyes up to heaven and go, "Ah, here he goes again."
Yeah.
It's like a broken record, him and his queries and his disputes, and where on earth is he going? So if we go on that track, doors will close when they see us coming. They don't want to talk to us at all. Now, so we're still talking about queries and disputes. If I am talking to a sales rep, I say to the sales rep, Mr. Sales Rep, your customer is not happy. You went in and told your customer you would sell him that calculator for a fiver, and we sent him an invoice for €7.
Yeah.
He either thinks you're incompetent or dishonest. Now, I'm sure you don't want your customers to think that about you, so we need to sort this out and make your customer happy. Do you see how now I have the salesperson on side?
Yeah, I do. And
Going back to the calculator that we agreed a fiver and we sent an invoice for £7. When I'm talking to the finance director, I'm saying, look, there are issues. Not only is that issues blocking cash that we should have in the bank right now,
yeah,
and right now there's about 2.5 million that we should have in our bank account that we don't because we get it wrong and we get it wrong and we get it wrong. What's worse is the figures you are looking at, because he only cares about figures, your margin is overstated because of problems. Your turnover is overstated because of margins. And for you, of all people, the integrity of the figures that you're reporting to the board on a monthly basis is paramount. And if you want to make sure that those figures are correct, then you need to support me to make sure that our invoices are right.
yeah,
Did you see?
yeah, I do. I
And
absolutely
if we're
do.
talking to the managing director, I'm talking about the reputation of our company in the marketplace. I'm talking about as a good company who do things right, that we
Yes.
are professional in everything that we do, and that includes billing. So all the time when I'm talking to people, I am talking their language, not mine. Are
Yeah.
you with me?
Yeah. I understand that. And I think that data is, even in the last 10 years, is accelerated in terms of being able to get hold of data out of systems. The
Yes.
ability to export data and the main accounting systems. And therefore, data, I always say data doesn't lie, it doesn't fib, it is what it is. And it's got to be right, as you say, it's got to be accurate to make decisions on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with this sort of advent, this avalanche of data, number one, we have to filter it better.
Yeah.
Um, and number two, there's almost an expectation of real time accuracy. So,
Mm.
and that's another thing within credit control. You know, I've spoken to people, oh, we send out our invoices at the end of the month. All right, so you give your customers a month's credit before you even send them a bill. That's clever. Um, you know, like this is just crazy stuff that we do. And
Yeah.
I asked them why are you doing this? And back in the day when I was a credit controller many years ago, getting data was the problem. Now it's filtering it and getting
Yes.
what's relevant to yourself to make the decisions. And but accuracy, my mantra is right first time.
Yes.
Get it right first time. And the other thing that I tell my children, and I'm like a broken record, I hate to be predictable. I always tell my children, are you ready for this? If you ever have to say it'll do, it won't.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. That's
So
very
go
true.
back and do it properly, you know?
Yeah. No.
And I think if we adopt credit in this way and we take a pride in getting things right, then credit can expand to being a great customer service. Our cash is coming in on time. Our customers are happy with everything we're doing. Our sales reporting, margin reporting is correct. Now we have a well-run, streamlined business. Whereas, if we just keep getting it wrong and wrong and wrong, and we're chasing our tail, looking after queries. So yes, we have to fix them, then we have to solve them. And I don't see an appetite for that out there. They don't understand the impact this is having on businesses.
Okay. So, in terms of what are the mistakes that you see businesses making in terms of credit? What are your sort of hit list of mistakes?
Oh, well, if I start at the very start, like I could be here for 2 days talking about this.
We haven't got two
Um,
days.
I know. So
Maybe in
I might get
Orlando
my
you'll have
own.
2 days, but not today.
I might get my own YouTube channel now to kind of
You
rants
should.
on, you know.
Yeah, you should.
What was I going to say to you? Yeah, right from the very start, if we start the process correctly, I find, and this might come as a shock, and this is also fairly universal, to me, the basis of credit is trust. So credere, the Latin verb to believe or to trust. So when I give credit to somebody, I am trusting them. I am
Yes.
providing goods or service today, and I trust that they will pay me in the future. So that is, and that's the basis I have always worked on. I will look at somebody and say, "Can I trust you?" And if the answer is yes, I'll do business. If the answer is no, then it's payment up
Yeah.
front or whatever it is. I still do business, obviously, but not on credit. Um, so the first thing I have to know is who is my customer.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Would you believe that 50% of the ledger, and any credit controllers that's looking at this, prove me right, go down through the names on your ledger and see, have you got trading names? Have you got, are they individuals? Are they limited companies? And in half the cases, they don't even know who their customer is.
Yeah. I do see that because obviously I have to enforce against those entities at the end of the credit line, and
And they don't know who it is.
it,
Oh, it's John. You know John, the big tall fella down the road. Yeah,
yeah,
but it's John. Is
yeah,
it John Flanagan? Is it John Flanagan Limited? John Flanagan
yeah.
Car Sales Limited? Is it, John and Partners? Who? It's John. You go, no, stop, come back.
I'm totally on the same page as you, my friend. I totally get that one. I do
And,
see
and, and
that a
we're
lot.
giving credit. We are working hard. We're providing products, and we don't even know who we're giving them to. And anybody out there who still gets checks, and I know check payment is still out there in the world, although it's almost gone here. Um, the question I ask credit controllers is very simply: did you ever get a check from a customer where the name that's printed on the check didn't exactly match the name you had on the account? And they say, "Oh yeah, that happens all the time." And I say, "Well, then you don't know who your customer is.
No,
Is it the person you're billing or the person who's paying you?"
yeah,
So like we're at that fundamental level in credit. So you ask me what are the mistakes made. We don't know who we're paying. We don't have a clear communications line for pricing, for purchase order numbers, for dispatches, deliveries. We work on the basis that what we dispatch is delivered, and that never happens. What's ordered is dispatched, that never happens. What's delivered is invoiced, that never happens. So there's so many different steps along the journey where things can go wrong, and we just gloss over them. So we have to take it step by step by step by step and get it right every step along the way, and take the function seriously, and resource the function. People need to be trained, they need to be educated, they need to have the systems and procedures to do their jobs properly. The amount of people out there still operating debtors ledgers on spreadsheets is terrifying.
right.
And spreadsheets were cool in the 80s. Like, that's how old I am. I remember thinking spreadsheets were cool. Come on, we're 2023 now, lads. It's
Yeah,
time we stepped up beyond the old Excel spreadsheet and the color coding.
yeah,
And it's still happening all over the world.
yeah. All those points I totally endorse in terms of it's picky, isn't it? But again, that's where the pride comes, isn't it? Having a clean ledger with all that information correct. I mean, that's where the pride of the credit professional really kind of, I know my customer and I know who they are.
Oh yeah, and that's one thing. When I was in the day job, I prided myself, and I try to give that to other people as well. So this is not just a horrible job where you're fighting with people and begging for money. And another word I hate, and a lot of people use this. Are you ready for this word I hate?
Yeah.
Chasing. I'm chasing payment.
Okay.
Oh, I've heard that everywhere. Well, here's another question. If you're chasing, what am I doing?
Running.
So let's not do that. Let's collect instead of chase. So that's so. Look, yeah, yeah. The passion is there, and I just wish I could make people see how important it is. And look, it's not easy. It's never easy. It can be done with a will and with somebody there driving it, and that should be the credit controllers, credit managers in all of these companies. They should be driving it forward. And back to this pride, I'm not sure, Claire. Maybe I'm getting old or something. Um, while the younger generation coming through are very clever, very capable, very tech savvy, I'm not sure if they have that same pride in what they just perform a function, and if they tick the boxes, everything is okay. The ownership, I just don't see that sometimes. And
Yeah, I understand now. I'm not sure if it's a generational thing or it's a tech thing, in terms of checking. My old mentor, I was, a solicitor in the Temple, and I was lucky enough to work with him. He used to say to me, "You have to develop eagle eyes, Claire. You have to have eagle eyes." And I wasn't very good at eagle eyes. I was probably his worst student. But he would look at something and pick those things out.
yeah, that's right.
And I guess you're the same. And people are like today, it's like almost too much trouble. You want me to
Yeah,
do what? You want me to check a whole list of names and check them against Company's House and check them against this and check them against that? Yeah, do.
yeah.
Absolutely do.
Yeah, and where I think I mightn't be getting old or whatever, the thing that also saddens me is how many people are unhappy in their current jobs and the rate at which people move. I think, and maybe this is about having, a pride in the job, and like every company I worked for, and I didn't work for that many companies throughout my career. I loved working with them. I was proud of working with them. I wanted to, them to be the best, and I just, yeah, I lived it. And look, I'm not a corporate man. I have a family. I've four boys. They're my number one priority. So I think I kind of got the balance more or less right. Still, though, bringing this pride into work and taking a pride in what you do from a job satisfaction perspective, rather than going home, for a bottle of wine, to go home feeling, yes, I did. And look, as long as you can do your best, some days your best is better than others, and some days it's an
Yeah,
absolute
definitely
shambles.
have those
You,
days.
you still do your best,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's not so good. And I think if you can live with yourself, and credit is, if you get this sort of, the feeling I call it is yes. Yes,
Yeah.
that's coming in. Yes, I've got, and if you get, and you have to generate that internally. That's nothing that can be thought. If you can do that, then credit control is the best job in the world because you get it every day. You're not moving papers around. You're seeing tangible results. You make the call, the money hits the account. Yes, it's the best job in the world.
Well, it's great to hear that coming through. In this day and age, it's having passion for a job is, I'm going to say, a little old-fashioned in some quarters, and I think that that's something. If you if you're going to go to work, I always think of my dad. He went to work for 40 years in a job he didn't really enjoy, but he had to do that. He didn't have the opportunities that he gave me, and you may be the same in your family, but he did it and did it well. And I think that's, whoever's listening to this, if you're kind of maybe you need to be in credit control and get some of Declan's passion, because it is that kind of job. Anyone can train up. There's so many ways to skill people to come into credit and get the bit between your teeth in terms of this type of work. So I love the passion, and you're a real leader. You know that. You're a real leader in the
Yeah, thank you.
function. Nice to
And
see.
and just on that passion, Claire, and again everybody who's watching and listening, To me, this passion is almost essential. And forget credit control. If you're a credit controller watching this and you hate credit control, then my best advice is get out as quick as you possibly can.
Yeah,
Because, the fact of the matter is, you know, we only have so many days on this planet. We
yeah,
really only have so many days, and we cannot afford the luxury of losing one of them, as far as
no,
I'm concerned. And my advice to my four kids, and I'll extend that to anybody who's listening, is very simply that from the time they were four, I said to them that, okay, you're only 4 years of age. Do you know what? There is something you can do better than anybody else on the planet. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
we're unique, we're all different. So, by
yeah,
definition, there has to be either one thing or a combination of things that you can do better than anybody else. And your job is to find that thing.
very
And
good
my job as a
advice.
parent is to pay the bills. So, whether it involves college or doing school or whatever, you find that passion for what you love doing. And that was my advice to children, and my advice to anybody who ever went through a training course I delivered. I'm just so passionate about this, that people waste their lives doing jobs that they hate. And oh, I
Yeah,
have to do this and I have to do that. Yes, certainly in our parents' time it was a different world. Now the choices are endless. It's up to you what you do. And my advice is follow your passion. Follow your
follow your
passion.
passion. I think
Do
that's
things you love doing, because you only get today once.
yeah. And I love the way you deliver that because again, people don't say that enough. And to younger people, it's something that you can do, and try and adopt Declan's philosophy of life. I think it's great. But turning away from that, in terms of the recognition for credit and this passion that you have, and now you're channeling it into initiatives like the Institute of Credit Management, the
Yeah.
Irish Institute of Credit Management, and the World Credit Congress. I mean, the World Credit Congress is a tremendous platform for credit professionals. Tell me about why you got involved with that, and what has it meant to you?
I got involved even before it started. I had the pleasure of meeting a gentleman from Mexico called Luis Eduardo.
Hey, Lewis.
And Luis is another passionate guy about
Yes.
credit, and a wonderful, wonderful character. And he had this vision of a World Credit Congress, and he held the first one in Mexico in 2007 and invited me along. And obviously, Mexico being a very populous country, there was hundreds of people. It was a unbelievable event, which was fantastic. And I suppose the purpose of it is, and now more than ever, it's important, is to get credit people together. Because look, I know we're on Zoom, and Zoom is the next best thing. There is no substitute for shaking hands and meeting people face to face. And to me, in my whole career as credit is a people business. That's what it is. And you learn more from your fellow credit managers, just having a coffee, having a chat, just exchanging ideas. And no matter what problems you have, somebody in that room has overcome that problem.
Yeah.
And this networking, this sharing, and just knowing sometimes that you're not going mad, that everybody in the room has exactly the same problems, the same IT issues, the same billing issues, the same payment issues, and now that we're moving towards sort of a technological age of social media, text messaging, and WhatsApp, I just think it's so important that we get together physically in a room together. The Yes, of course, the speakers on topics of interest, that's almost an aside. And while yes, we like interesting, and I'm sure we will have interesting speakers at the next one too, it's more about the camaraderie and the exchange
Yes.
of ideas and knowledge, and that's what appealed to me. And it's just great, and the atmosphere in the room was fantastic. And even though there was competitors and rivals, when it comes to credit, we're all in the same game. So
Yes.
that to me is the key, and it's been on a different continent all the time. So, it went from Mexico to Dublin to South Africa to Romania to, um, back to South Africa, and now obviously Dublin last October, and the United States next year, which will be really
Yes,
exciting.
coming to Orlando.
Yay! Yes, yes, can't wait. Yeah, so
So look out for the dates. And Declan is part of the steering committee and has been hugely helpful. And Shergroup will be hosting the event, and along with the support of the steering committee. So we're super excited, and we'll hear you in person in Orlando, at some nice resort here. Too many to pick from at the moment. We're just putting the finishing touches to
yeah.
that.
And again, anybody who's listening, look out for it. It's a couple of days out of your life. It's just well worth bringing the whole thing, and you get a view of the world of credit.
Yeah.
Too often we're stuck at our desks and piles of paper and emails and stuff. There is a whole world beyond your desk, and just to take a glimpse at that, it's an eye opener. And
Well, I
highly
feel
recommend
I feel very fortunate this time that I've only got to go sort of 45 minutes down the road. So I'm I'm feeling pretty good about that.
I feel fortunate that I have to go halfway around the world, so I'm really looking forward to it
There
even
you
more.
go. There you go. It's a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, all of this experience and passion and obvious capability that you've demonstrated through this interview today, and people getting to know you, and obviously we put this out, and we're putting this out, to a worldwide audience for the Congress, this interview. Now, the Irish Institute of Credit Management has developed the Diploma in Credit Management. Do you just want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, this is something the actual name, just getting it right in terms of the name of the company. So my business here is called Irish Credit Management Training.
Right.
There is an institute here, which is now the Credit Management Institute of Ireland. Long story, we won't go into it. I suppose why we developed this, and we developed this a number of years ago. Number one, we want to see credit function raised to a level of profession. So in order to have a professional approach, we have to have a professional qualification.
Yeah.
So we developed this. When I say 1 year, it's a one academic year, with 4 subjects. The 4 subjects are collections, credit management, risk, and international credit management. So they are the 4 subjects, and they are universal, right across the board. So risk in terms of who we give credit to and how much and how long and all the good stuff, understanding ratios and things. So, but the importance of this to me is that it's as practical as it is academic. So it's not just, I know credit managers tend not to be, our credit controllers tend not to be highly academic. So putting them into an academic world, and even as a credit manager, I would recruit somebody who worked in a bar over somebody who had a degree. Because if they worked in a bar, they know how to deal with people. If they have a degree, they may or may not. So I still want them to have a qualification that they can stand tall and say, I am a professional in credit. They know what to do and how to do it. And it is certified. We also have AICDP, which is the Association of International Credit Directors and Professionals. So they certified the thing internationally as well. So look, it is a qualification. It is run from Ireland. It is universal in application. And we love people. There's a bit of work involved in it. A couple of hours every week. It's by blended learning. So it's at people's pace. We know people are working. And, there's tests and assignments throughout. There is an exam at the end in order to be certified. And I just think it's a great way of people to get recognition for the job. And hopefully most companies are paying for it anyway. So it's just a matter of you. And I think you're sending a strong statement out that credit is not just a job. I'm putting my own time into it to get a qualification. I'm making a statement that this is my career. And there is a career in credit, from credit control to management. And a lot of the multinational companies now even have directors of credit.
Yes, of course.
which is something that we want to see
Yeah, of
grow.
course. So
So
ICMT is your website.
ICMT is my baby.
It's your
Yes,
baby. And it's and you're setting the kind of syllabus. You're developing the syllabus for this diploma qualification.
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's your team that are training your students.
Absolutely, and I'm still I'm involved on a hands-on basis myself because and not on all the subjects. There are tutors on subjects, but at an overview, I am there. And I'm one of these sad people. I just love credit. And even this morning, I had a question from a you know a stranger who wants to know what to do with a judgment. And I just love that.
Yeah.
I just
I think
yeah.
that's when you set yourself up as the expert. And
Yeah.
what sounds interesting about this is it's not limited to aero. It's across, is it across Europe? Does it go to, is it
Oh,
global? Where
it's
does it go to?
everywhere. Yes, now, and we've graduates from South Africa and right across Europe, UK and Ireland. Um, don't Not sure we have anybody from the US yet. There's no reason why not, and I'd love them to come on board, and maybe you'll share my contact details along
Yeah,
with this.
we're going to do that in
If
the
they
show
want to
notes.
contact me, love to talk to them and give them all the details and
Fantastic.
welcome them on board. It'll be great.
That's the wonderful thing about websites. They're not limited by geography usually. So
Yeah,
that's
true.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Now, what
so it's
about the credit?
icmt.ie. So
Yeah, I'm gonna, yeah,
yeah,
ICM.ie.
T. So ICMT stands for Irish Credit Management Training.
I
So
gotcha. Okay.
ICMT.ie for Ireland, and that's
Yeah,
us.
nice. Very nice. Now, what's the Credit Team Awards? What's that initiative?
Yeah, this has been a thing I've done for a long number of years, um, because again I feel credit teams never get the recognition they deserve, and they are working long and hard. And even at finance level, there's no appreciation for how difficult the job is.
Yeah.
There's nothing easy about it ever.
Hmm.
And I just felt that for one afternoon, and now it's an afternoon, I'm not even taking a day, one afternoon in the year to so credit teams, and now it's called the Irish Credit Team of the Year Award. If there are teams who are operating within Ireland, and I'm sure we can extend it. And we just bring them together. We have a lunch. There's a nomination process. You can nominate yourselves, send in why you think you're the credit team of the year in the particular category. We have an esteemed judging panel who decide who's the best. We've different categories of international credit, EMEA,
Yeah.
risk teams, service providers, blah blah blah, and then we have a short list in each category, and we bring them along to a nice lunch in a nice hotel, and the winner is, and we have a fanfare and an award and pictures in the Sunday Business Post, which is our paper record here from a business perspective, and just to put them on a stage and say, well
Yeah,
done,
yeah.
lads.
Nice. Very
Um,
nice.
yeah, I love
Um,
it. It's one of my favorite days.
yeah, no, that's great. Maybe you need to extend that across the world.
And maybe we can talk in Orlando because I have no copyright signs. And even on my training, I deliberately have no copyright signs. Anybody is free to rob my ideas and to use them as their own.
But
That's my
they
job.
need your sparkle to make them come to life. So that's good.
Yeah, so
Um,
that's my baby.
and in terms of, having this building your global kind of brand, which you are doing through the World Credit Congress, you
Mm.
as Declan Flood and your organization. I mean, you're interested in talking to business leaders in, across the world about credit. I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, well, I think you probably know me well enough now at this stage, Claire, to know I will talk to anybody who
I
will
do.
listen.
I absolutely
Uh,
get that.
and delighted with the opportunity. Yeah, and thankfully, yes, and there have been invites to conferences around the world, and I just love to fly the flag for credit, and particularly among business and finance leaders. The one thing I spent my whole life reporting to financial controllers, finance directors, and the sad thing, They did not spend 5 minutes in accounting college learning anything about credit management. And yet, all the credit managers in the world report to, yeah, well, a lot of them, more and more now are starting to report to sales, which is a great
Yeah,
development as far as I'm concerned, because
yeah,
credit is a sales function as well in terms of completing the sale. Um, and then these guys spend no time doing credit management, so they don't really have an understanding or an appreciation of it. So, I love, there's nothing I love more than traveling, meeting new people, talking at conferences, talking to businesses. I've done in-house training in Canada and Ghana and all sorts of mad places. And we'll travel, delighted. So
great.
if anybody wants, more, I'm quite happy to go anywhere and talk to anybody.
Yeah, and a great opportunity for people to get you to come and share your ideas in person,
Love to.
especially now we're past COVID and all of that drama, and we
And the
can.
world is reopened again.
Yes, the world is reopened again, which
Yeah,
is
let's
great.
enjoy it.
So, with all that experience and passion for credit, where do you see the future, Declan? What's going to happen to credit in the future?
Oh, well, if we had a crystal ball now, it'd make our lives so much easier. Um, Certainly technology is going to play a huge part in it, because we had a number of exhibitors at the World Credit Congress, and when you see what technology can do right now, it's absolutely terrifying. So I think credit people everywhere have to embrace technology. That's number one. We
Mhm.
have to get rid of all the mundane and laborious tasks out of the systems, the allocating cash, all the very important jobs that have to be done that takes a lot of detail. We get rid of all the manual processes out of it. And then I suppose from a credit perspective, we have to focus on the humanity, on the intelligence, on just recognizing the reality of the situation. I'd like to see more credit directors appointed to the boards. I really think that you know for a balanced board with all the important functions, if you ask anybody in business, is credit important? They say, oh yeah, it's very important. And yet they have a sales director, they have a finance director, and they won't have a credit director.
Oh,
Your credit director can sit there between the finance director and the sales director, and they manage the margin to make sure that we're all the sales are being turned into profit, and that the company is maximizing profit. And we can maximize profit through the intelligence use of credit. And just people have to find out how and why. And I also see credit developing as the eyes and ears of the customer within the business. I've said this before, and I'll keep saying it. That's the power of credit within the business. And just to keep everything running smoothly and everything on track. And I think as we go into the future, this is going to become more and more important, that we keep a balanced view of everything. So I
mm.
think there's a bright future for everybody in credit.
Yeah, I think and I really like that comment you made about managing the margin. I think that is the area where the financial transparency around what a business is doing is so important. It's got to be positive margin. It's got to be, you've got to be working not for turnover, but for cash flow and having a positive cash flow. And I don't need, that's where a credit manager really helps, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember in a previous existence, just to throw it out in case it's helpful to anybody, what we did and what I did as one of the exercises because obviously I was the reporting guru, because I knew all the sales and I knew all the
Yeah.
figures and all the rest. And 1 month we got this mad notion. And what we decided to do was to generate a report by customer, by product.
Okay.
Okay, now that was a pretty lengthy report because we had thousands of customers and hundreds of products.
Yeah.
When we ran the report by customer, by product, you would be amazed at how many products we were selling at a loss. when you combined the promotions and discounts and settlement discounts and all the other things that were, universal to the business, to specific cases. And after that, we managed our business by customer, by product, by week, and we were looking at the margins at all times. And that, to me, I know that maybe is a bit over the top, because if you're looking at percentages, you can cover a multitude. So overall, the business was profitable. When we got down into the profit by customer, sorry, this is my screen beeping. Yeah, I should have turned off my Outlook. Apologies.
Good.
And here's more emails coming in. So that's what I would encourage. And for credit managers everywhere, it's not just about sales, it's about profitable sales. And obviously the quicker we get the money in, the less strain on profit it is, because there's, if we're looking now at interest rates, certainly in the UK, they're gone to 5%, and that's the base rate. So retail rates could be up to 10 or 11. That's 1% per month. So every month you wait to get paid is knocking 1% off your margin.
Yeah,
that's significant.
Yeah,
that's so and people don't even count that.
I love that, because again, that's a lesson for all of us in business, not just credit professionals. That's the entire team. I think one of my team made a mistake of telling me the other day they'd made so much profit, and I went, no, it's margin, and they were okay. So I love that as a soundbite. I think it's very, very valuable that people do get granular with their figures and really kind of dig into what are we really making, what is our cash flow. So thank you very much. So much sage advice in this interview today. Absolute pleasure to interview. Can't wait to meet you in Orlando and hear you in session with a whole bunch of enthusiastic new converts and existing professionals in credit. So thank you everyone for tuning in to this fascinating interview with Declan. It's been super. And visit his website. It's www.icmt.ie. And there's a contact there, and I'll put all that in the show notes. But go and visit his website, his training website, and look him up. Connect with him if you're a credit professional of any type. Connect with him on LinkedIn, because I'm sure he's the type of fellow that will give you a message back if you have a question, and really support you and want to join with you across the world. For everyone else, well, it's goodbye from me. I'm here at Shergroup on the sofa. You can visit our platform at www.shergroup.com and be part of our community, our growing community, where we embrace a number of disciplines, credit being linked back to our heritage as sheriffs, which is my interest in talking to Declan today. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and we need to make sure we're following each other on all those channels, Declan. You can find our TV show called The Bailiffs on Shergroup TV on YouTube. I think Declan's been watching that. So some good stuff between us, lots of material for you to get stuck into. And we hope that you will be able to make the trip to Orlando in October 2024. It's going to be a hugely innovative and interesting set of sessions with some really seasoned, experienced credit professionals who want to meet you and hear your story. So note that on your calendar, and we'll finalize the dates for you and send you out the website to our communities, so you can start to get involved with the run-up to the Congress. Okay, Thank you so much, Declan. I really enjoyed today, and
me too.
Thanks to everyone else. Bye-bye.
Not at all. Thanks a million, Claire. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.